The expanse of the Maasai Mara stretches into a golden ocean of grasses that sway gently at the touch of the wind. It is a place of unparalleled beauty, where life thrives amid a delicate balance between creation and destruction. Here, the sun majestically rises over the plains, illuminating an ancient realm untouched by human hands. The Maasai Mara is the last wild frontier, where the rules of nature still govern and the cycle of life unfolds in a relentless spectacle. However, behind this apparent serenity hides a brutal truth. Life in this land belongs only to the strongest, most cunning, and most relentless. Among the creatures that roam these vast plains, none is more revered and feared than the lion. Majestic, powerful, and fierce, he is the true sovereign of the Maasai Mara. At the heart of this ruthless domain, a coalition of lions emerged to etch their name in the history of the African savannah, the Four Musketeers. Among them was a lion whose name would become synonymous with bravery and leadership, Morani. Morani, whose name in Swahili means warrior, was the epitome of royalty among lions. Alongside his three coalition brothers, Scarface, Sikio, and Hunter, Morani conquered a vast and rich territory full of prey and vital resources. The coalition of the Four Musketeers was not just an alliance of lions. It was a force of nature, a storm of fangs and claws that dominated the Maasai Mara with unprecedented brutality and cunning. For years, they maintained their uncontested reign, repelling rivals, warding off predators such as hyenas, and fiercely defending their females and offspring. But it was not just power that defined Morani and his coalition. It was strategic intelligence, meticulous coordination, and the deep bond between these lions that made them a true legend in the Maasai Mara. Morani, in particular, was known for his rare combination of physical strength and sharp mind. He was the protector, the one who stood out in the fiercest battles and took the lead in times of crisis. When others hesitated, Morani advanced, guiding his brothers to countless victories and epic conquests. Under the scorching sky, the narrator immerses the viewer in the early days of Morani's rise. With every powerful step, every resounding roar, he solidified his position at the top of the food chain. But while the rise to power was glorious, the wild world of the Maasai Mara offered no room for rest. For every territory conquered, a new threat lurked. The Four Musketeers had no time to celebrate their victories, as each day brought forth younger and more ambitious lions from the shadows, challenging their dominion. Hello guys, if you have liked these stories and have not subscribed yet, support our work and subscribe to the channel to help us yet. For many years, these challenges were repelled with ferocity. The Four Musketeers, led in spirit and strength by Morani, repelled all attempts to overthrow them. Clans of hyenas attempting to steal their prey were violently pushed away. Rival coalitions daring to cross the borders of their territories were decimated, their males defeated, and their offspring eliminated to ensure that the lineage of the Four Musketeers prevailed. As the cameras capture the majesty of Morani, walking through the lands he helped conquer, an inevitable feeling of awe forms. He was not just a lion. He was a symbol of the resilience and strength of nature. With his dark and powerful mane, scars adorning his body like medals of war, Morani reigned supreme in a world where every misstep could mean death. The savannah was his kingdom, and he moved with the confidence of one who knew that every inch of that soil had been conquered with blood and sacrifice. But while Morani's shadow dominated the Maasai Mara, the cycle of life followed its relentless course. Even the fiercest of kings cannot escape the claws of time. Although still one of the most feared lions in his territory, the years began to accumulate over Morani. Deep wrinkles began to appear on his once smooth skin, and fatigue reflected in his once bright eyes. Nature, which he had dominated for so long, now slowly began to take its toll. At the height of their reign, the coalition of the Four Musketeers had become an unbeatable force on the vast plains of the Maasai Mara. The territory they controlled was as vast as the legends that circulated about them. Their roars echoed through the savannas, and wherever they were, rivals kept their distance. But with increasing power, also came greater challenges, and nature, relentless in its quest for balance, brought new enemies to test the strength of Morani and his coalition brothers. The battle scenes that would now unfold would be different from all others. Morani, Scarface, Sikio, and Hunter were no longer the young and vibrant lions who had once conquered the territory with brutality. The scars from previous fights began to weigh, and although their hearts were still of warriors, their bodies carried the wear of years of relentless battles. Morani, in particular, felt the weight of time, but his will to protect his legacy and his brothers remained as fierce as the first day he stepped on those lands. The climax of this epic tale began with a distant roar, a sound carried by the wind, bringing with it the threat of a new rival coalition. The intruders were young, strong, and hungry for power. They were willing to challenge the Four Musketeers and conquer the lands that, for years, had been ruled with an iron fist by Morani and his brothers. This new threat represented more than just another confrontation. It represented the future, and for the Musketeers, it was a clear sign that their reign was about to be tested like never before. The first lights of morning still illuminated the plains when the two groups met, the shadows of the great lions stretching as they advanced against each other. The tension in the air was palpable. The rival group, larger in number, moved with the confidence of youth and newfound strength. They were 6 lions, their muscles tense, ready for battle. For Morani and his brothers, this fight would be more than a simple territorial dispute. It would be a test of their own survival. The battle began with a fury that seemed to shake the very ground. The powerful roars of Morani and his brothers collided with the roars of the young rivals, and the clash of claws and fangs created a cacophony that echoed across the plains. Hunter, always the fastest and most agile, attacked with lethal precision, dodging blows from opponents with the skill of an experienced fighter. Sikio, with his brute strength, advanced like a wall, imposing his body against the boldest opponents. But it was Morani who commanded the heart of the battle. Even weakened by time, he fought with the ferocity of a lion who knew this might be his last great fight. He was not just fighting for himself, but for the legacy of the Four Musketeers, for the land he had conquered and for the cubs and females they protected. His roar echoed powerfully, and he charged directly at the leader of the rival coalition, a young and robust lion who dared to challenge him. The clash between Morani and the rival leader was brutal. Every move Morani made was a mix of experience and accumulated strength, but the vigor of the opponent began to outweigh the old warrior's resistance. Claws tore flesh, and teeth found meat. The ground beneath them was stained red as the two titans of the savannah fought for supremacy. Morani, despite the pain and fatigue, continued to advance, forcing the young lion to retreat. If you like this type of content, leave a comment about what you want to see in the next videos. Stay until the end with me so you can see how the incredible story of the Four Musketeers ended. What started as a balanced fight soon began to lean toward the younger side. Time, the natural ally of the younger rivals, began to betray Morani. Each blow he struck was slower than the last. Each movement was heavier. The wounds he had already carried from past battles now reopened, and blood ran down his scar-stained skin. He, who had once been a symbol of invincibility, now felt the weight of mortality. While Hunter and Sikio fought with all their might to support their brother, they too began to yield to the pressure of superior numbers. Scarface, wounded from a previous battle, fought from a distance, unable to engage directly in combat. The coalition of the Four Musketeers, which once reigned with such certainty, was now cornered. And in that moment, it was clear that this would be their last great battle together. The fight between Morani and the rival leader reached its peak when, finally, the young lion managed to bring down the old warrior. Morani struggled to stand, his muscles trembling with effort. With one last defiant roar, he lunged at his opponent one last time. But this time, his years of dominance were not enough to overcome relentless youth. The new leader brought him down with a final blow, and the savannah fell into an eerie silence. With Morani defeated, the coalition of the Four Musketeers began to crumble. The younger rivals, now victorious, took over the territory that had been ruled with such strength and loyalty for so long. After the final confrontation, the vast plains of the Maasai Mara, which once echoed with the roars of Morani and his coalition brothers, fell strangely silent. The dust still settled on the blood-stained ground, as the wind carried the remnants of what had been a legendary battle. The body of Morani, now lifeless, symbolized the end of an era of absolute dominance. The once indomitable warrior, who for years had ruled with strength and courage, had been defeated not just by younger rivals, but also by the relentless claws of time. But, like any great wildlife story, the fall of Morani was not the end, but rather the beginning of a new phase. The decline that began with that final battle unfolded slowly, leaving a lasting impact on the ecosystem and the narrative of the Maasai Mara. The Four Musketeers, once an indestructible coalition, now found themselves crumbling. Hunter and Sikio, the brothers who fought alongside Morani, continued to resist, but the weight of constant battles and the trauma of losing their companion affected the strength of the coalition. Scarface, marked by a previous injury that had kept him from the last fights, was also not in a condition to maintain the dominance that once was theirs. With Morani, their most reliable and fierce member, now gone, the Four Musketeers became vulnerable. The decline of Morani and his brothers followed a natural cycle. They, who for so long dominated vast lands and successfully repelled predators and rivals, now struggled to maintain their borders. The coalition of young lions that had challenged them continued to expand their territory, taking what was once considered untouchable by others. The cameras capture melancholic scenes of Hunter and Sikio wandering through the lands that were once theirs, now emptied of their dominion. The wear of years of fighting was evident on their bodies, and as they patrolled their territories, each step seemed slower, heavier. Morani's decline marked the beginning of the end for the Four Musketeers coalition. However, Morani's legacy extended far beyond his physical decline. The narrative continues to highlight the genetic and territorial impact left by him and his brothers. The females and cubs they protected, many of whom are direct descendants of Morani, continued to roam the Maasai Mara, carrying forward his lineage and heritage. The strong and adaptable genetics that Morani left in his offspring ensured that his presence would be felt for future generations. Moreover, Morani and his coalition had transformed the behavior of lions in the region. Their aggressive territorial defense tactics, their ability to repel predators like hyenas, and their strategy of united coalition influenced other groups of lions, who adapted their own methods to survive in the same harsh environment. The impact of Morani's leadership shaped the social and territorial dynamics of the lions of the Maasai Mara for years after his fall. New coalitions arise, young lions who, directly or indirectly, inherited the strength and behavior of Morani. The new generations roaming the savannah now follow in the footsteps of their predecessor, perpetuating the struggle for dominance and survival, as he had done before. But Morani's legacy is not only felt in the wildlife. His name has become legendary also among human observers, biologists, and nature lovers who followed him for years. Morani was more than a lion. He was a symbol of the raw and relentless struggle for survival in nature. The very Maasai Mara, where he walked as king, forever carries the marks of his reign. Documentaries, books, and studies that narrate the story of Morani and the Four Musketeers have ensured that his legend lives on well beyond his time. The coalition of the Four Musketeers, although fragmented, left an indelible mark on the Maasai Mara. Their lands, now occupied by new kings, still carry the memories of Morani and his brothers. The scars from the battles fought, the offspring they left, and the territories they conquered will be remembered for a long time. Morani's physical decline was just one chapter in a much larger narrative. Wildlife follows its course, but the impact left by Morani and his brothers still resonates through these lands. Although death finally reached the great warrior, the story of his rise and decline remains etched not just in the soil he defended but also in the memory of all who accompanied him, whether on the savannah or through the lenses of documentaries and accounts. The fall of Morani was not a failure but rather part of the natural cycle that governs the animal kingdom. The cubs of Morani, born from his strength and bravery, inherited his genetics and will continue to shape the dynamics of lions in the region for many years. Now, new lions emerge, young and strong, ready to claim the territories that belong to the Musketeers. The battles Morani fought prepared the way for these new generations, and the lessons he taught, both to other lions and to those who watched, will continue to shape the behavior and dynamics of the Maasai Mara. Although his reign has ended, Morani left an indelible mark on the ecosystem, forever changing the interactions among lions in the region. Nature continues its course, relentless and beautiful. The savannah, the stage for so many confrontations and survival stories, will continue to harbor new kings, new coalitions, and new battles. But the story of Morani, the great warrior, will live on forever, echoing in the winds that sweep across the African plains. As the sun sets and the stars emerge in the sky of the Maasai Mara, the story of Morani finds its conclusion. He may have vanished, but his legend will endure, reminding everyone that, even in the wild heart of Africa, where life and death coexist in a fragile balance, the true kings are never forgotten. And we have reached the end of another story. If you liked it, leave in the comments what else you want to see here, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you support us.